Ladies and gentlemen, what's good? Welcome back to another episode of the Two Thumbs Up Podcast. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day today. It is very good to be back. Obviously joined by my co-host, Ducky the Gamer. I just realized we're actually matching. We're pretty much wearing the exact same shirt right now. So this is now the official color scheme of the Two Thumbs Up Podcast.
Oh my god, I see it.
Obviously, I should have thought of that before we went live, but you know what? It was A-okay.
Whatever.
We got a lot of stuff to cover today, you know?
We got a lot.
I mean, even within just Warzone Mobile itself, there's like 6 different topics to talk about, and then you talk about, on top of that, the fact that you've got Project Bloodstrike launching ahead of time. There is much to cover, so hope you guys are having a good day. This is indeed live. This is not a premiere. Ducky, how are you feeling? We finally getting excited about something for once?
Finally, I'm excited to play Warzone Mobile for a good 6 months, and then the game will shut down, and then we're gone for good. No, I think for once, it's been. I mean, when Apex Mobile launched, I had never played the Apex franchise, and so I was like, yeah, I have nothing else. Like, I can try COD Mobile, but for some reason, like, COD Mobile just never meshed with me. I loved the game. The BR side of things, I just could never get into it. It was just never like my style. And so for Apex, I was like, we're gonna try it. Let's see. And that obviously didn't pan out. For like 84 came out, didn't pan out. Rainbow Six was announced, and there was recently more announced development delays. But after 4 years of Fortnite Mobile being banned, it looks like there's a new game that will finally fill that void. So I'm incredibly excited. I've been working for the last few weeks on a lot of really cool, big upcoming videos, obviously streams and everything. And it's just cool. I started playing Call of Duty. Literally, I have a very vivid, distinct memory of going over to my friend's house as like a 10-year-old, sitting down playing Call of Duty 4, just regular Modern Warfare. And that made me want to buy an Xbox. And then I played Modern Warfare 2. And then from then on, I bought every single Call of Duty that has ever come out, and so it's really crazy to full circle play Warzone Mobile in just a few short days, and so really excited for that. And obviously, you, Bobby, is someone who's played COD Mobile for the last 5 years. You didn't play COD before COD Mobile, but obviously you're in tune. You know the characters, you know the weapons, you know the maps. And so, what about you? How juiced are you feeling going into this launch?
This is the most excited I've been for a launch in a long time, maybe ever. I don't know. I was definitely excited for COD Mobile's launch, but I don't think I fully anticipated. I think I was less like excited for COD Mobile's launch and more desperate for it. Like, I was just kind of at that stage of my content career where it was like, if COD Mobile doesn't end up being my game, then I'm probably just not going to be a YouTuber anymore. But obviously, it did work out, but now it's been 4.5 years since we had a mobile shooter that actually survived upon launch, and so hopefully Warzone Mobile will be that again, especially given the amount that Activision has invested into it. It seems like it is something that is going to be here for quite a while, so even if the launch is not perfect, I don't anticipate it's something that is going to see remotely similar path to what we saw for Apex, just because of how much has been put into it. I mean, even if you look at like the number of studios that they have acquired to make this possible, they're full sending into things. So I, for one, am definitely excited for it.
Yeah, I mean, if you just take a look at the timeline of like from when this project started and how much time has been spent on, like, realistically, this can't fail. So, and that, I guess it's a good and a bad thing. Good in the sense, like, they're just going to do whatever they need to make this succeed. They're going to get as many developers on this as possible if the game comes out and there's glaring issues. I mean, I don't think so, because we're basically already playing the global launch of the game, and most of us, we'll talk about optimization in a second, but most of us are seeing pretty promising updates and results over the last few weeks for mid and high devices, and we can talk about low end devices in a second, but they just have to have this succeed. With Call of Duty Mobile being so old and mobile gaming still being like that cash cow for Activision, they're just in the position where, I mean, I think it's going to succeed regardless. I'm not saying that it's going to fail and they're going to have to do some crazy steps to make it succeed. But they've spent years on this project. Like you said, they've acquired so many. When you open up the game and the loading screen, there's like 17 studios that are on the loading screen. And so a lot of people, a lot of time, a lot of effort has gone into this project. And that's why it kind of has to succeed. And so agreed. I don't think it's going to see the same route as Apex just because of the cross progression. That's not something Apex had. They've also, I think, there's just more optimization at launch, which again, highly contested point. I don't think a lot of people agree with me. But it's yeah, it'll be an interesting launch. Like the first week of the game, I'm really curious to see how everyone globally receives it, because within the mobile community, there's a very mixed bag of opinions. But in terms of globally, like with console and PC players, I'm very, very curious to see how they receive the game, having probably never played a mobile game, and then just first time being like, oh, this is either really good or really bad. Because us mobile players, we are over critiquing, over analyzing. Oh my god, this flagpole 750 meters away is pixelated, doesn't look good. Okay, guys, what are we doing?
Yeah, I think it is going to be a very mixed bag of expectations, and that's something that the mobile community doesn't see a whole lot, is because it is very much like the mobile community only listens to the thoughts of the mobile community, and so there is going to be an entire side of the gaming space that has never played a mobile game before, maybe never played a mobile game before, but probably never played a mobile shooter that had expectations the way that this one does. So it's going to be interesting, like you said, to see the POVs of a lot of PC and console content creators. I am very curious to see what the perception is, because I do think like a lot of those people that are going to be trying it for the first time are going to be playing on high-end devices. And so like that's one thing that's obviously been talked about a lot, is that Warzone Mobile has some optimization issues here and there, but whenever it comes to high-end devices, it's been running really, really well. And so I'm curious how that impacts the kind of the public perception of it and whether or not people are going to try it. It does also feel like this is the first mobile shooter that is being marketed primarily toward the West. I think Call of Duty Mobile was that to a certain degree, but I think there were still...
Mobile, I would say, also would fit in that category.
That's true. Yeah, and Fortnite Mobile, I pretty consistently forget that Fortnite Mobile existed, if I'm being completely honest.
I gotta remind you, that's why I'm here. I'm the Fortnite Mobile guy.
But yeah, I guess the first game since Fortnite Mobile that's more focused on Western markets, where you do have a larger percentage of the population that have higher end devices, or at least iOS devices, which is the perception that people kind of have of Warzone Mobile being like specifically made for iOS. I think part of it is just really easier to optimize for one device rather than optimizing for the thousands of different Androids that get put out per year. And so that obviously simplifies that process a lot. But I think, once again, we will continue to see that optimization improve. It's not going to be something that happens overnight. And once again, the fact that it's built on an engine that's designed primarily for PC and console, like not something that's ever been done before. And so that adds an extra block into that as well.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point to make of this game. When if you could take a step back, and if you're someone who only plays mobile games, it like you said, it's been years. And if you never played Fortnite Mobile, you've probably never ever even played a game that's been marketed towards players outside of or like marketed towards players in the Western hemisphere. But if you take let's just take a step back and imagine what they could be doing with Warzone Mobile, because if you take a look at Call of Duty's existing player base, it's consoles and PCs. If you have a gaming console, that means you have spent $500 of your just extra spending money, because you don't need a console to go with your day-to-day life. You have additional income, additional spend to spend money on a $500 gaming console, or a $500,000, $600,000, $1,500 gaming PC. So the people that already play Warzone already have expensive gaming devices, and they already have additional extra income, so they already most likely have more expensive high-end gaming devices for Warzone Mobile, which is not typically the case for most mobile shooters that come out, or mobile games that come out. They're typically marketed towards or developed for maybe lower end devices, where that's not the norm, where mobile gaming for the last few years has been definitely pushed and more marketed towards South America or Southeast Asia, where those markets don't exist. Those gaming and PC, or console gaming and PC markets don't exist. And so I keep saying, like, that's probably their strategy. Like, it's obviously not going to make everyone happy. If you're a low end device player, that's the last thing you want to hear, that Warzone Mobile is not gonna be marketing or optimizing for you, at least at the launch. But you have to think about their current existing player base. is console and PC players. They already have spent $500+ to play games on their device. They most likely have a high-end device, so they're going to be spending money on bundles, spending money on Warzone mobile points or whatever is the currency. And I think just people haven't like wrapped their heads around that's a possibility, that the game is going to be like mid to high end devices only, which is really what Fortnite Mobile was. Fortnite Mobile was pretty much a mid to high end only game, and if you had a low end device, you just weren't playing on a good game. It was 20 to 30 FPS. You were stuck on low graphics. You weren't able to compete against the best players. You were just losing a lot of the time. And so it pretty much became an iOS only game. And if you had an Android, it was running poorly. And so times have changed, and I hope they will end up really buckling down and optimizing for low end devices. But I just wanted to put that thought process out there of why it might be so mid and high end device specific at the start, because I think a lot of people have been like, where's the low end device optimization? Where, like Bobby said, if there's a million Android devices, it's harder to optimize for, it takes more time, takes more resources, where you can just focus on a few of the top end devices, get most of the market share that is probably going to be downloading the game from the mainline version, and will probably cover more of their like player base that will spend money on the game. So that's what I've been thinking, and that's why it's been so interesting having these optimization conversations over the last few weeks, where if you're someone who's only played mobile games over the last few years and you don't have experience with like these types of markets or like higher end games, then it's something you might not be familiar to. It's an interesting scenario, and it's an unfortunate one, but I think it's just the reality. Like, I think it's just the unfortunate reality.
Yeah, I think to your point about it being focused more toward PC and console players, I think that's probably a big reason that we're seeing the addition of that extra aim assist for the controller side of things as well, to try to make that transition for console players a little bit easier. I am curious to hear your thoughts about that, because I don't think it's something that you've weighed in on a ton. Obviously, I talked about it a little bit just because, to me, I think I come from a side, especially on the esports side of things, that wants to see mobile players able to prove that on an even playing field with controller players, they can keep up, if not beat them. But especially looking, and obviously nobody has done like an in-depth study on everything that happens with aim assist in Warzone Mobile, what happens when you have a controller attached, no controller, whatever that would be. But it does seem from the initial findings that there is definitely, in specific situations, a substantial amount more of aim assist. And I think that's something that, once again, if your main goal, if your only goal is to draw that PC and console side of things over to the mobile side, I get that. But I think if Warzone Mobile is going to have its best chance to succeed, it needs to do a good job of giving its attention to both of those sides. I think part of that does go to optimization, like we've talked about. Like the game, and that's something they're fully aware of. They're not just like, oh, we don't need to optimize for Android devices. Once again, it's a lot more difficult when you're optimizing for 1,000 different devices than just for one device a year, like you're doing on the iOS side of things. But I do think that the aim assist is definitely something that needs to be addressed, because especially if you look at the early tournaments that happened, the fact that you had 4 of the top 5 teams in that tournament, even though it wasn't a big money tournament, 4 of the top 5 teams on controller, and the one mobile team had players switching over to controller mid-tournament just so they could win gunfights. Obviously, there will be mobile players that continue to evolve, but the fact that there's that much of a starting gap, especially given how long people have been grinding out custom lobbies on mobile, I think is very, very concerning, and hopefully something that they address either on launch or very, very close to it.
Yeah, this has been a battle as long as mankind has been around. The even with aim assist on PC with mouse and keyboard and controllers, it's just a tough debate, because on one end, if you lower the aim assist too much, you're gonna have controller kids saying, "Oh, I'm getting beamed by mobile kid. The mobile aim assist is too strong." If you have the controller aim assist too high, then you're gonna have all the mobile players saying, "Oh, the mobile aim or the controller aim assist is too high." So it's this incredibly fine line, or this super sensitive scale of, if you put the controller aim assist just a little too much, it's way too overpowered. Same thing with mobile aim assist. A little too heavy. It's a very tricky thing to balance. But I do agree, at launch, it shouldn't be predicated towards controller players. This is Warzone Mobile at the end of the day, and although they are marketing towards console and PC players and players who might want to experience the game on a controller, they shouldn't just get a native advantage because they're playing with a controller. Like it's a mobile game. Touch is should be the intended use of playing this game, and incentivizing players to not do that for whatever reason there might be seems to be a weird choice. And again, it could just be total coincidence of like there hasn't really been much focus on controlling misses for a while, so they don't even know this is an issue. Or maybe they just know about this and they're going to say, we're going to do this for a month. We're going to let controllers fry mobile players, and then we're going to collect a ton of data, and then we're going to make adjustments as things go. I will say the Warzone Mobile dev team has been incredibly on top of balance changes and adjustments and on the fly hot fixes over the last few weeks. So I don't want to get too over concerned about this issue and to get too worried, because my hope would be if this is an incredible issue and 2 days into the global launch, every mobile creator is using a controller, that's a bad sign for, that's a bad look for your game. And that hopefully they would make some on the fly adjustments and figure something out. But it's not a good sign, but I'm also not overly concerned that it's gonna like ruin the game.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I'm downplaying it. I haven't really played against these people, and again, it's hard to know because we don't know how many controller players are going to be in these lobbies at launch. If there's 10 controller players per lobby, all right, that's not too bad. If it's 50-50, that's a problem. If every other player you're running up against has this crazy aim assist, that'll make the game a lot harder to play. So there's just a lot of unknowns, and so I don't want to get super wrapped up in the unknowns, and I don't want to focus on like a ton of the negatives. When again, it's something that could change like this. It's not optimization. It's not this like huge. It's literally a value that they can probably just lower or change, and then push it out in a hotfix like that, and the issue will be resolved. So that's why I don't want to get like it is an issue. But again, I don't see myself playing tournaments. I'm just gonna go pub stomp, run around, shoot kids, shoot players, and so I don't know. Maybe I'm downplaying it, but I don't know.
It's probably more because I see more of the competitive side of things and a desire for it to be something that's balanced. Like I don't think they need to ban controllers, even if it does have slightly higher aim assist. I don't think they need to ban controllers from tournaments, because I do think there's so much content opportunity there for it to be controller versus mobile input, and to just see who has the advantage. But I don't think aim assist could kill Warzone Mobile. I think aim assist could kill Warzone Mobile esports. That is one thing that I will say.
Okay, good point.
If you drive away all of the mobile players, like Warzone Mobile esports will still exist, but the mobile players are not going to have any interest in it. So it'll be interesting to see how that balance does play out. But once again, not the biggest concern in the world. Obviously, optimization, at least for the mobile community, is the larger concern. I am seeing other questions in chat, people asking if it's too late for Bloodstrike, should they have launched earlier, whatever that is. So I don't know if that's something we want to talk about today. In case you guys didn't see,
We have to talk about it. What do you mean?
Oh no, we're gonna talk about it for sure. But it's Bloodstrike, they didn't launch today, but they expanded into every region. So they
No. It's apparently it's Canada, North America, and Europe. So just the main regions. Just
like a third of the world's population.
Can someone clarify the other regions it's out in? Because it was already available in some regions. So like they added 30 countries to the soft launch. So my whole thing was I called it basically a global launch, because that's a billion people between North America, Europe, and Canada. That's like 1.1 billion people. So 20% of the world's population has just been added to the game. I just think Bobby and I have talked at links about this. The launch scheme and the way mobile games launch is just bafflingly stupid at this point, of closed alpha, beta, closed limited alpha beta test.
The thing is, at this point, adding new regions does not do anything. You're not getting any additional feedback. If you're launching within a week, like, there's nothing that's being contributed to the game in a meaningful way. So all you're doing is hurting the way that the game is going to perform on the charts whenever it launches, and further confusing the community on, like, what is actually happening. It just, there's no, like, you don't gain anything from it. It's not like people are clamoring for Project Bloodstrike. Like, the majority of the community that I think Project Bloodstrike is going to get is the trickle down from Warzone Mobile for people that are not able to play the game on their mobile devices. And even then, like, I think there's probably a much larger percentage of people that if they can't play Warzone Mobile on their devices, they're just going to go back to the game that they played before. Like, I don't think there's that big of a demand for an FPP battle royale with tag sprint. Like, those three factors are not what are drawing people to Warzone Mobile. It's that Warzone Mobile is the next step in the Call of Duty franchise on mobile, and so that's the biggest draw to it. I just don't. I think maybe Project Bloodstrike are misunderstanding the draw that Warzone Mobile has, and definitely missed out on what was their biggest opportunity when Warzone Mobile announced that it was going to be delayed 6 months ago.
Yeah, now I'm getting conflicting reports because someone was saying that Project Bloodstrike had already been out on iOS for an NA for a while, and that Apple had fined them. But then he just said it just launched in North America. So I'm very confused. And it launched in North Europe? I don't know why you would. Yeah.
But once again, none of this was even announced on any of their socials. Everybody's just guessing at what happened.
Yeah, I completely agree that, like, if you're doing this at this point, it's pointless, because for data collection purposes, that's what a soft launch is. You're really trying to find bugs, find glitches, optimize your game, and figure out any other optimizations that you can have for content before you release it to the world. What is this? If it's an accidental whoopsie daisies, sure. It's been out in NA for a while. Yeah, I'm just kind of confused. Yeah, if someone, maybe LeakerBot, if you could just sum it up in one post, that'd be really cool. Because now I don't even know what's going on with the game. But that's even worse. For the launch of a game, you want it to be punchy. You want the initial global launch of the game to be, this is the date, this is the time, everyone be there. You know, you have countdown streams, you have hype, you have tweet, everyone's hyped for the launch of the game. If you're just weirdly launching into regions a week before the global launch and not saying anything, even if it was an accident, it's just really going to eat into any of the potential hype it might have had. And again, like Bobby was saying, this game is really only catering towards players who aren't going to be able to play Warzone Mobile due to optimization issues. They're only kind of aiming their sights at those players because their content isn't as good, their optimization isn't as good, they don't have 90 or 120 FPS, their game isn't as in-depth in terms of the loadouts and attachments and everything. It's just a reskinned Warzone Mobile, but it runs on every device. So if you're someone who's looking for a Warzone Mobile type experience, but you can't run Warzone Mobile, this is your game. Like, that's the audience they're going for. But even then, it might have a hard time reaching that audience if their marketing is, I don't know what their marketing is. I don't know what's going on. Like, it was also an incredibly fascinating choice to launch the day that Warzone Mobile is launching. Like, typically, any other media or anything avoids that at all costs. You never want to have a launch or a big announcement on the day that another announcement is going on. Like, events.
No, like you look at, like, the music industry, like, that's what everybody like, in the music industry plans around the other person's launches because you want to be as high on the charts as you possibly can. You don't want to be competing with somebody else because at the end of the day, that just hurts both of you. And I think especially if you are Project Bloodstrike and you are very much the David in the David and Goliath situation, you don't, like, run up on Goliath and say, hey, let's have a fist fight. You want to stay as far away as possible and take any advantage that you can. And they're trying to ego chow Goliath 1v1 point blank, and it's just not going to work. And once again, going back to the marketing decisions, like I saw Cold in the replies saying, well, they do have marketing, they have Facebook ads. Facebook ads.
Do we not remember the TikTok ads that Apex was posting? Come on, guys. Come on, guys.
Facebook ads cover a very tiny base, and also Facebook ads are not going to have like any type of emotional connection to draw people into a game. Like, obviously, there's only so much that we can talk about, but we both know, like, there's lots of creators that are going to be involved in the launch of Warzone Mobile and creating content around it. I do not know a single person that is at all involved in marketing for the Project Bloodstrike launch. And once again, the way that they've gone about that marketing is so confusing, because they had content creators making sponsored videos about the game for like an Android launch in Brazil. Once again, it wasn't Brazilian content creators that was making that either. So it's just been very discombobulated, disorienting, and it's very difficult to understand. And once again, they even came out and said, like, hey, we don't see Warzone Mobile as our opponent. We see Warzone Mobile as our colleague. And it's like, Warzone Mobile does not see you that way. Like, I gotta find like that the Thanos post, saying where like the boot has no qualm with a bug. Like that is very much the situation at hand.
Yeah, it's just a fascinating approach on what could have been. Ultimately, they had this huge opportunity of Warzone Mobile in October or September when they announced they're delaying their game for up to 6 months, which ultimately it was about what was that? COD Next was in September, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that was. They delayed their game for 6 months. I played. God, oh my gosh, I played Bloodstrike back in 2022 or like early 2023. They had. Really? Well, no, it must have been 2020.
It had to be 2023.
Yeah. I just remember seeing a screenshot in my old apartment, and I was in that in like just the very first few months of 2023. But even then, that game felt pretty done. Like, if I hop on right now, I don't think I'm going to see a year's worth of development between that and this point. And they had so much potential to just honestly rush the game. And if they could have done that, would have been a pretty genius move to get it out. Say, hey, Warzone Mobile's not here for 6 months. Let's put out this game, let people get a taste. And by the time Warzone Mobile comes out, we might have players so addicted to our game, they don't even want to try Warzone Mobile. But instead, like you said, it's the David and Goliath. Dude, they're trying to go 1v1 Mike Tyson, and you're a 5th grader who is 90 pounds.
Yeah.
It's the craziest fight I've ever seen. They don't have the marketing on their side. Like you said, they're not going to have the creator support. And the creators they are going to have, again, no offense to anyone out there, it's just going to be the smaller creators who are going to be trying to get those views from the people interested in the game. But the large creators where the game would benefit from the most is all going to be going to Warzone Mobile. And so as a creator, as a player, as a game, they're just coming out in the worst case scenario from this launch, from doing this. Even they should have maybe even just waited a month for the Warzone Mobile launch.
Oh, 100%.
At that point, rather than trying to launch it on the same day, just say, hey, let's just wait a month. Let the hype die down. The people who got mad they couldn't play the game on Warzone Mobile, or the people who were frustrated with the performance of Warzone Mobile for whatever reason, then we can say, hey, look at this game, pay some creators or whatever. There we go. Like, we're just cooking up the greatest marketing scheme of all time, and we're not getting anything for this. And it's crazy. Like, this game, like, I wonder how much money they've spent developing this game, all for it to go to waste because they decided to 1v1 a $70 billion company.
I don't think they've spent much on it at all. Like, LeakerBot pointed out, the map that they used for Bloodstrike was already in another game. I believe that was the Knives Out map as well. So it's not even like they built a new map. Like, all the weapon models, I'm sure from old NetEase games, I'm sure they threw some Rules of Survival files in there from back when Rules of Survival had an FPP mode. And so, you know what, we'll combine the two and see if people like it. And you know what, it's got tech sprint, so it's basically Warzone Mobile. And once again, I think it's a game that could have had a lot of potential and could have grown a community. Like, I feel bad for the people that
I know,
have
dude.
created content around Project Bloodstrike, because had they executed properly didn't even have to be good marketing. It didn't have to be like some huge campaign where you spend $1 million to get YouTubers to promote your game. Literally, all they had to do was not launch at the same time as Warzone. Like, you had one job and you couldn't do that one job. And at this point, it's just tough to imagine a
Yeah.
scenario where it does anything besides flop. I think it'll probably once again still get some trickle down. But the other thing you got to think about is like the thing that people love most about battle royales is when they don't have to hop into all bot lobbies. And if you're going to have a lot of bot lobbies on launch day, people are not going to stick around your game for very long. And that's what they're setting themselves up for, given the fact that, like, big creator, small creator, pretty much everybody, unless you are a diehard Project Bloodstrike fan, is going to be playing Warzone Mobile on Warzone Mobile's launch day. So I don't know. Apparently, they're also rebranding Hyperfront, which is their Valorant mobile
Yes.
clone. I can't even remember what I saw the name as. It's like one word, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
Um,
Also, we're not cooking or criticizing any creators who decided to make
no,
content on
not
the
at all.
game.
That's not their
We're
fault.
criticizing the game's inability to see the poor decisions they're making. That's hurting. I feel terrible
Yeah.
for people who have put in time and effort to this game, and who knows how much effort to where they could have put it elsewhere and been rewarded, or just saved their time and effort, because what they've been gearing up for is the supposed hopeful launch of a game, and what they're going to be rewarded with is probably nothing, or just very little in the way of viewership and interest, because of the way they've gone about launching this. So unless they do a 180 and decide to go full on sponsorship mode and campaigns and working with creators and pulling out some really cool ad campaigns and marketing, I don't see this game succeeding. Maybe it'll have a trickle down effect where word of mouth spreads, and they get a little bit of that, but for the most part, it's pretty jover. Um, but yeah, Hyperfront. I mean, how long was that game a thing? Like
Like
a
6 months.
month?
I think it was 6 months
Okay.
max.
Yeah, maybe
At
not.
least in like global launch. I think it was in global
Okay,
launch.
yeah.
I don't know.
Was
That game
it?
didn't even run well on my iPad Pro, which was kind of wild.
Dude,
Given
that
like
game
what the
felt so
graphics.
slow. Maybe that's
Yeah.
just Valorant, but it
Yeah.
just felt pretty. It was, and again, I think we gotta like, maybe it's just me, but we gotta stop like praising these games that do this.
Hmm.
Like, I understand Apex Mobile shutdown, and I understand everyone loved and missed that game, but like a game just stealing the concept and literally fabricating the game asset for asset, bar for bar, like that's not a good thing.
No.
Like
And it was
I
one
don't.
thing back in the old school mobile gamer days when like Rules of Survival was the only shooter game that existed and there were no
Yeah.
alternatives. But now that you have real IPs that are actually putting in the work to replicate their game on a mobile front, like eventually you've got to put the cheap clones to the side. And it's honestly a miracle that NetEase have not learned from all their past mistakes and the amount of times that they've gotten sued. Like they got sued for for Rules of Survival. They got sued for Hyperfront
I who PUBG
by
for
PUBG.
ROS.
Yeah, they had to pay on that as
Nice.
well. They
They
got
lost it?
sued. They lost a lawsuit. They'll probably get. I don't think they'll get sued for Project Bloodstrike, because honestly, that would, like, what they would get back for that is probably more than whatever marketing would be free for NetEase. Like
Yeah.
on the game itself, I don't think that's one that is even going to be worth it. But it's all
Creative destruction. They copied like
yeah.
this whole concept of just
Wasn't
taking
it Craft
IPs.
Night? Craft Night? No, that was your name.
No, that was the Minecraft SMP.
No, it was Fort Craft. Fort Craft was the original name of Creative Destruction.
Fortcraft, yes. But taking these well-established IPs, ripping them off, and then closed beta releasing them, or just releasing them in China is like, dude, it's such a crazy trend, and I don't know how they're getting away with it, but they are. And it's like, when I understand as a creator, like, and by like, I don't know, like, I'll make a video on it, but maybe, I mean, I can't even make a video on it. Like, if it's in China only, it's just this weird ecosystem that's popped up around like these fake games, and like this continual like hype for them. Of like, I saw a lot of creators tweeting about like, oh, I'm so hyped for this game. I'm like, dude, Valorant Mobile's coming out like this year probably.
Mhm.
Like I know there's nothing released, but like this is a steal. It's gonna run worse. You're gonna have to download it. You're gonna have to go to China to become a Chinese citizen to play this game. Like the links at which these people go to play these games is also pretty astounding. And I'm not to say that I'm perfect. I've made videos on these games before. I made a Hyperfront video. I've made a Bloodstrike video. I'm gonna record a Bloodstrike video right after this. I don't care. But it's it's just crazy. I don't know. Like it's just the hype for it. Putting them on a pedestal is what I'm saying. Not talking about them, but like people saying like I'm so hyped for like this Apex Mobile copycat to go global. Like really? Like
Mhm.
the game is stole years worth of development and IP and intellectual assets. Like we're proud of that. Like I don't know. So it's fine to talk about it and to make posts and make content, but like I don't know. I just think there's been a lot of praise for these copycat games, and it obviously it's working to some degree because these companies are still. It was just announced they're making another one,
Mhm.
and they're I don't know.
Speaking of unreleased games, Rainbow Six Mobile, which is in
Beautiful segue.
some phase of its roadmap. The roadmap was simply when the soft launch was going to start. Hello, operators. We'll be pausing new content for the time being to let us focus on enhancing key elements of the game. To help us, many impactful decisions have been made concerning Rainbow Six Mobile. Read all the information in our blog post. So now Rainbow Six, which has already had one like huge pause in development, like they either betaed or they soft launched, and then they went radio quiet for a long time. And then they soft launched again, and then they added some new regions, and now they're stopping their development of new content again. Like it's dizzying, and it gives me a headache because there are so many games that had a year and a half worth of Warzone mobile beta to put something out, to put something into the mobile space that could potentially draw a fan base, and we literally have been sitting here with nothing but an Apex Mobile that shut down after a year. It's just mind-boggling how no company outside of Tencent has seemed to be able to put out any type of playable product, or at least a global launch it. So Rainbow Six Mobile, another game that I personally loved for a hot minute. I was streaming it on TikTok. There was good viewership. The hype that Jinxie had brought to the mainline game definitely increased viewership there as well. And once again, just not able to execute on it, not able to make the adjustments. Obviously, part of this is all likely due to the fact that like the gaming economy is in a little bit of a recession. Everybody's making layoffs and whatnot, but it's also just kind of wild how it seems a lot of these games are simply not progressing at all given the time that they're putting into it.
Yeah, dude, it's another story of opportunity was there. Opportunity was there. You have literally the resurgence of a lifetime. You were handed the world's biggest streamer of Jinxie playing your game, manning your game. Rainbow Six was in the spotlight for the last 6 months. And what does Rainbow Six Mobile do with that? We're scaling back development, or we're chilling with the mobile game. And I completely understand. By no means am I saying that rush the game, push it global, and have an Apex Mobile 2.0 where it goes flat on its face. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that this game was announced. How long ago was this announced? Like the lifespan of these betas and of these soft launches, I think is what's truly killing these mobile games, because it's previously a game would be announced a year in advance, and then you would play it, or like the gameplay trailer, you would see like the Call of Duty trailer in November of 2020, and then you'd play it in 2021, or you get like a 3-day beta, and then you'd be able to play it.
I mean,
Mobile
even for
games,
no, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was gonna say mobile games have said we're gonna announce the game. A few months later, we're gonna do a soft launch or whatever, however they're gonna say it, and it's gonna be in this phase for 2 years. You're gonna be able to play this game for 2 years if you want. So it's lost all steam, all momentum, and the now further development delays. Like I want nothing but this game to succeed. I think it's a fun game. I think it fills a really awesome void in the mobile space, which is tactical shooters, like really intense competitive mobile gaming. But it's just, I don't know, if it just seems like every mobile game company that's either newer or like wants to make a game, they start development, have a really optimistic, aggressive timeline, and then just fail to meet that every time. Um, and it's just really unfortunate to see that. But I don't
Yeah.
know. It's hard. It's just hard to always to like to just say, hey, Wars, it's delayed again. Hey, it's delayed again. Like it would be totally different if like they had been working in silence for 2 years on gameplay, and then we were like, Rainbow Six is here. Oh, this is crazy. But instead, we're all let down rather than being like excited that they're like spending more time developing the game. It's just the expectations that the mobile game community sets on these new games is pretty high, and these developers are having a hard time meeting these expectations, and it's just causing for a harder time to launch. As Warzone Mobile is seeing, the expectations for launch at Warzone Mobile is astronomical, and so Warzone Mobile is having to go pretty hard in the paint to meet this expectation. So it's the same thing. If people know you've been able to play Rainbow Six for 3 years or 2 years, then the expectations are going to be through the roof compared to if the game was only in soft launch for 2 months and then they went global, but they'd been working on it for 4 years behind the scenes. So it's just the dichotomy is just so weird, and I don't think it's helping these games launch. But in their minds, I think it is. But I don't know. I don't develop games, what I know, but I don't think it's helping.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the COD Mobile launch, or at least the betas that they had. The first beta of COD Mobile was in, if I remember correctly, May of 2019, and the game launched in October of 2019. That's like
Oh,
5 months from beta
yeah.
to launch. And obviously there was probably a lot of work that happened on the back end, but I think that's something that these companies have just decided to completely forego, and I don't really know what the reasoning behind it is, because like COD Mobile is a perfect example of a game that was really hyped up. That, to be honest, like you look at the overall marketing of it, and at least from everything that I saw, it wasn't anything remotely close to what we've seen from more of the recent games, where you have developers that are drawing in creators from every different genre that they can to try their best to promote the game and make it as big as possible. It's so crazy how much longer it's taking. Once again, a lot of it's predicated on the fact that they're trying to build these games for the first time. They're on an engine that is not necessarily something that they're super familiar with, or at least the developers that they're hiring is familiar with. And so I understand that it is going to take a longer amount of time, but seeing the impact of the public perception of the game, and it's one thing that I think Warzone Mobile could have improved significantly on as well. Like, I don't think we necessarily needed to see the Warzone Mobile version that we got to play at COD Next in 2022.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
If I'm remembering correctly, like that was not
crazy.
There's no question that build was, anybody that watched that build knew that that was not within a year's worth of being ready to release, let alone 6 months. And so I think that's potentially something that Activision can learn from for this as well. Like, not everybody has to see every step along the progression process, because as you have people waiting longer and longer, naturally people are going to get more and more bitter. And I think that's a big reason why the community is as divided on the issue of Warzone Mobile as it is, because you have the COD Mobile players that are afraid of losing COD Mobile and they don't want to switch to Warzone Mobile. You've got the Apex players who don't have anything, so they'll just gladly hate on whatever they possibly can. You got the Bloodstrike players who are now finding out that the game that they've been excited for has decided to kill itself by launching on the same day as Warzone Mobile. And then you've got the actual Warzone Mobile fans, half of whom are excited for the game and half of whom their device can't run it, or at least not very well, and so they still openly crap on the game as well. So it has made for a very divided community, and I think a lot of this could have potentially been avoided simply by just waiting a little bit longer, giving your developers time. And once again, that does give you, it's probably different times as well, because there's probably a lot more Androids that exist at this point than there were at the time that COD Mobile launched. And so there's probably more that they have to do, and it's beneficial to have it reach a larger number of people so that they can get feedback on how that's happening and everything. But I think there's ways to do that, not necessarily behind closed doors, but at least under NDA, because anybody would have gladly done a closed alpha for Warzone Mobile just for the sake of trying out the game and seeing how it feels.
I was gonna say, I mean, touched on it before, like Call of Duty back in the day used to just do like week-long betas. Why not do that? Why not do every 3 months? Hey, we have a new game, new version of the game. If you guys could play it for a week, soft launch, whatever, open to a few different. Hey, this time these countries get it, then these countries and these get it. You play the game, then we just shut down the servers. So then the hype starts building back up. Oh, what's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? New beta? Boom! This is the improvements. Oh, this is sick. Builds back. Like that seems. Again, maybe they don't get enough data during that time period. Maybe it's not a sustainable model. But I think time and time again, these crazy long beta periods are proving to just make the launch more difficult. I think, how long was Apex's beta period?
I think it was like a year and a half, right?
Really?
I believe so. Improving or Mobile Drama guy can probably correct me on that.
Yeah, someone's got to. I mean, I think these crazy. I understand from the developmental side that you need as much data to improve the game as can be. Apex Mobile did that. Then a soft launch. Oh, I don't know. Apex Mobile, I think, is a bad example. That game was just cooked anyways. But it's tough. It's just tough because I don't think they foresaw the game taking 2 years to develop like they did and having the game be in soft launch for like 18 months or whatever it was in. But
3 beta. Okay. Well, I didn't know a ton about the Apex, so maybe it was 3 betas and they were 2 weeks.
Maybe they did what I just did and it just failed still.
Soft launch was a month? I don't think that's true.
That's true. No, I remember that because I
thought it was at least 3.
Maybe 6 weeks. I thought it was like a month before launch, soft launch came out. I remember I was grinding that. I was like Mexico. I was grinding. Bad ping, like hit masters. It sucked, but it's just so tough because like I think every developer is realizing that like these games take way longer to develop, but then they've already like committed to this, plan of collecting data and having it in beta. It's just, I don't know. I'm not a game dev, but it's like you said, it's just created this really divisive community before the launch, which I feel like you don't want. Like, I was talking about it before. Like, I've never remembered a launch this divisive or heated or like jawing at each other in my life. Like most games, it's just been different. This one seems weird. Like there's so much beef and there's so much animosity and there's so much tension around this launch because whatever way you fall in the way of Warzone Mobile, if you like it or don't like it or you're not going to play it, someone's got a problem with your opinion. And it's just really odd. And I don't know what has caused that. But
I think it's the verified badge culture on Twitter.
It's not
I think that's done it more
it's
than
not a
anything.
fun environment.
That everybody wants the tweet that is going to get the most attention, and they have found very quickly like targeting specific faults, whether that be in content creators or developers or games, is the fastest way to garner attention around it. And so I think that's a big reason that's like hating
Preaching
is
negativity.
fun on Twitter. Like it's fun to hate because it's amusing, I guess, to a certain degree, but it's definitely, I think probably the social media era that we're in has largely affected the way that the Warzone Mobile launch has gone as well. Obviously, once again, a lot of it does fall on the fact that it's just been way too long since the game was announced and could have had time management a lot better, but I think that's played a significant role there as well.
Yeah, I think it's been proven, at least with whatever Twitter algorithm Elon Musk is throwing on right now, negativity or just like raw reactions, like those random tweets you'll see pop up on your timeline and they're just the most like out of pocket visceral thing ever. You're like, why did this get shown to me? Like those tend to go way more viral than just like, hey guys, Warzone Mobile is a good game. Like no one's gonna care about that, but like Warzone Mobile is the least optimized, blah, blah. Oh, I can't say this. Someone's gonna put this out of context, and I'm gonna be cooked. But you can imagine where that was going, and then someone tweets it, and it gets 1,000 likes, and then that's the community sentiment, or at least that's what it feels like. But like I said, I think a lot of mobile players are forgetting that this game is also being targeted towards PC and console players, like we mentioned at the beginning, where we're going to have a big influx of new players who don't have that mindset, who don't have this preconceived notion of what a mobile game should be. They're going to be coming in blank slate, bro. Like, just hit the Men in Black, like, fresh mind. They're going to form whatever opinions they want on mobile gaming. And those are the people I'm really curious to see how they like it or not, because depending on how they like it and how they receive the game, that is how I would truly base the global launch off of, not the opinions off of the mobile community, which is they've already made up their minds. In my opinion, the mobile community, some members have already made up the mind of how the game is going to launch. The game could be on paper the most spectacular launch of all time, and then we're going to have a tweet saying Apex launch is better. The game is dead,
Yeah.
Like, I think that's going to be the deciding factor for me is, where do these new members lie, and how do they interact with the game? How do they like it? How are they enjoying their experience? And what camp do they fall into? Do they if the sentiment is, man, this game isn't optimized, well, then maybe that's a good point to listen to. But if it's like, this thing's fire, bro, this is the best game I've ever played, well, then I don't know, maybe we're all a little too tough the last month on the game, and just it's been so much negativity. It's anytime you tweet something positive, you feel like, well, how am I getting cooked for saying something good about the game? What's going on here?
No, I think there is, to credit some people, I've seen some Twitter users, especially people that pop into my feed a lot, that have had like not necessarily even a change of heart, but like when there have been improvements to Warzone Mobile, when the graphics have improved, whenever
for sure,
the optimization has improved, they're like, I usually hate on Warzone Mobile, but this update actually feels kind of good. Naturally, when we say that in a video, obviously that's not allowed. But if it's just a generic Twitter user saying that, it is A-okay. And I think that's what the expectation should be. People should be allowed to think however they want about the game. I don't think you guys have to take everything that I say for granted about the game either. Like, you guys are welcome to feel however you want about the game, but at the end of the day, at least try to have an open mind, because I think that kind of the general approach has been like, well, every content creator is totally sold out and they think the game is perfectly optimized and that there's nothing wrong with it. And I don't think there's a single content creator out there that is ever said that the game is perfectly optimized, or that would even say that it's well optimized right now for all devices. Like, it still has a way to go, but there's got to be an understanding that not all mobile launches are going to be targeted toward the same audience, toward the same type of devices, and that's just kind of the fact of the matter for Warzone Mobile. Hopefully it reaches more devices in the future, but I will gladly take what we have right now as what we're going to be playing, because at the end of the day, I'm just excited to have something new to play.
Yeah, and then again, from Bennett and the hope I didn't butcher your name, saying Warzone Mobile deciding factor would be leaderboard, 120 real players, and lag. But personally, I don't even think leaderboard even factors into my enjoyment of the game.
No.
So I just think everyone also has their own interpretations of what will make a launch good. And so that's also like mobile games where I feel like PC and console games, maybe there's a more like defined structure to them, where mobile games and maybe at launch, just they all have different like features and aspects. So like Fallout 84 is like super comp heavy, and they had tournaments at launch and these in-game leaderboards, and I mean we see how that game panned out. But everyone just has their own different unique takes on what makes a game excel and makes a game good. But even me, I played the game on my Red Magic 8, which I don't know where it is because I just moved. That thing ran 100 FPS average, peaked at 120. I still gave it a 9.2 out of 10. Like, this is the pre-launch version of the game. Even if I was glazing, I would have said 10 out of 10. Oh my God, everyone go buy Red Magic 8. Warzone Mobile is the holy. Like, even I said there's room for improvements on a device getting 100 frames per second on a phone. like, I don't know. The expectations also, I think, like you said, what's the quote? Expectations are the thief of joy, I think is the quote. Where
Comparison's the thief of joy.
Something about expect.
No, comparison's the thief of joy is the quote.
Yeah. Expectations.
Unmet expectations? Something about that? I don't know.
When you have expectations, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. Pretty good. Don't blame people for disappointing you. Blame yourself for expecting too much from them. Kind of along the same line. If you expect too much from something, most of the time you're going to be let down. So, also, like I said, just go into an open mind. Try to be that. Try to go into Men in Black, clean slate. Just say, hey, I've never played this game before. Let's see how this plays, and try to make your opinions off of that and see how that goes. But yeah.
Talking about the leaderboards, aren't we going to need something to grind for? The thing is, maybe 0.5% of the community will actually care about leaderboards. That is not something that, like, the player base at large is going to be concerned with, just because 99.5% of people don't have the time to play the game 24/7, or even to get good enough to be at the point where if they played 24/7, they would be on the leaderboards, let alone having those two factors of availability combined. So I think there are a lot of factors that are going to play a bigger role in the game's success. One's marketing. I'm pretty sure they've got the marketing unlocked from what I've seen. Like, it seems like they know what they're doing in regards to the marketing. Optimization, obviously going to be another one. Just like, can people play the game? And like we've said, there are simply going to be people that cannot play the game. And once again, that goes back to some of the frustration that the COD mobile community has felt, because we have not talked about the fact that Alcatraz and Shoot House, originally it looked like they were just going to be completely deleted from COD Mobile, because I think Alcatraz disappeared from the game files. And so obviously we had the whole community panic. Oh, they're already phasing out COD Mobile. It's going to disappear forever. And then we get a message from the COD Mobile team later that day. Hey, Alcatraz coming back. Shoot House coming back. We're just making some changes and making room for something else. So that my presumption off of that is that there probably will be a new Resurgence map. I don't know. I talked about this. I'd like to see it as Memnos Island, but at the end of the day, like, any type of Resurgence map, I think is going to be fun as long as it's available in tournament mode as a replacement for Alcatraz. But once again, like, COD Mobile is not going anywhere anytime soon. They've still got a year left on their ESL contract, and no question, COD Mobile is still making them a lot of money, and there's going to be lots of Warzone mobile players that will probably continue to play COD Mobile as their main game, just because not every new game is going to be everybody's favorite game. It's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, and that's okay. Like, people can play what they want to play. They can play what their device will allow them to play, and that's just something that people kind of have to accept.
Yeah, that's crazy, bro. I didn't know they deleted it from the files. They were trolling with that. But I mean, we saw like a tweet a year ago, maybe, when the whole Activision Microsoft merger was talking, and there was the rumors of Warzone Mobile was gonna be like the new COD Mobile and phase it out. And I don't know if those rumors were like squashed, or what was ultimately decided on that, but like, this seems pretty, I don't want to say damning, but it seems it's leaning in one way, that Activision definitely wants people to play Warzone Mobile. Whether or not you're going to stick around on the game, that's for you to decide. And if you enjoy the game or not, and if you find an enjoyable experience, you're going to go back to COD Mobile or PUBG Mobile or whatever game you play. But they're definitely pushing. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised 2 years, 2026, if COD Mobile doesn't exist, or it's just complete, not graveyard, but like,
just no content updates.
Yeah, that's what I meant. The game exists, there's servers, but there's no new battle passes, no new seasons, no new maps. You can play the game, your content is there, but you're not getting updates. That seemed like the progression of, this is the new engine, this is where the cross progression is, this is the tied into the main line. This seems like you said earlier, the new progression, the new next evolution of Call of Duty on a phone, on mobile devices, and that they have to start phasing out things at some point. So it's kind of early, and they definitely were like, hey guys, whoa, we're gonna bring it back at some point. but it's definitely, I think it's for sure telling, painting a picture of what their goal is for the future of Warzone Mobile. But I mean, I do feel like it's not a good thing if you're a COD Mobile gamer. Like, I don't want that to happen to you. Like, it's not I'm not like, Yahoo! It's unfortunate.
I do also remember
around.
somebody in chat was asking about something that I had tweeted, that because people basically what I had said on Twitter is like, you don't gain anything from tearing down either game. Like, tearing down Warzone Mobile is not going to make COD Mobile, or tearing down Warzone Mobile is not going to make COD Mobile better. Tearing down COD Mobile is not going to make Warzone Mobile better. And somebody gave the point, well, tearing down Warzone Mobile could make COD Mobile better because maybe they'll realize that it's a mistake, and then COD Mobile will become their focus again. And my response to that was like, they've invested far too much at this point to ever return to COD Mobile being like the center focus. And so someone was asking about that, asking what my thoughts were on it, I think not realizing that I was the person that said it. But the thing that you got to realize is, like, every Call of Duty ever has been phased out at some point or another. That's something that people have to realize. That is the normal Call of Duty life cycle. And also, those are games that people like pay for 100%. They're not free to play games. People buy the game, they play it for a year, a new one comes out, that game gets phased out. It might receive updates for a little bit, but it's not something that receives updates forever. And I think that's one thing that you do have to take into consideration for like COD Mobile, is there's so much content in that game. There are so many different guns, so many different maps. Even if it were to never receive another update again, it would still be really enjoyable for a long time, especially for the people that just love the game. It's got way more content.
Your face cam died.
Yeah, I know. It's got way more content than any other Call of Duty has ever had. And so even if it were to stop receiving updates, it's still going to be the same game. They'll probably have some team set aside for any bugs that could like potentially arise, but it's something that people just haven't really had to accept in the mobile community, is that there are games that have life cycles. There are always an end to things. And that's, once again, part of this is just the process of educating the mobile community on how video games work, because there are so many people here that a mobile game is the first game that they've really been into and committed a lot of their time and money to.
Yeah, I mean, and again, if COD Mobile was running on an old engine and it's running on an old system, it's hard to make those transitions to upgrade the game to get it to where it needs to be, to where Warzone Mobile is now. Like that, if you wanted to keep COD Mobile the way it is, but to give it the upgrades, and it would just take so long and so much money and so much resources. It's just more viable to slowly phase the game out and transition to the new game. And so, like you said, every Call of Duty ever, that's why you have to spend $60 or $70 a year on the mainline game, because the old one dies. The old one stops getting DLC, stops getting updates, stops getting maps. Like, they'll come in and fix bugs if they arise, or hacks or whatever glitches might come out in old Call of Duties. But by and large, 95% of the development team is just focused on new games. And so that's most likely what's going to happen. And again, with their approach, and I'll say, from someone who was in a similar situation with Fortnite Mobile, where it being a cross-platform and cross-progression game focused towards mid to high-end gamers on one of the world's biggest IPs, gaming franchises in the world, they were making, just absurd amounts of money. They were, before the game shut down, their last financial year, they made $1 billion on
that's like COD Mobile's lifetime earnings.
iOS alone, in one financial year, Fortnite Mobile cleared $1 billion. So I think that's cap, or maybe it's not cap.
That does sound like a crazy number. I can't lie.
I don't think it is.
On iOS?
Oh, wait, the game, no. The game earned more than $700 million from 2 years.
Okay.
So maybe it was $1 billion. Oh, maybe that was combined revenue, $1 billion. But in 2 years, even 2 years.
Yeah.
It doesn't even matter. Fortnite Mobile revenue. Fortnite Mobile made $500 million in the first 11 months of its launch on iOS alone.
That's wild.
Like, so this is just like, I mean, I can go look up like COD Mobile earnings.
COD Mobile does like 300 mil a year ish.
Yeah, it pulls like 30 million a month, which is good. not saying 300 million a month is bad at all, but if they've compared it to other games and they think that has the potential, like at the end of the day, they're now, it's a part of a $70 billion company. Wasn't it?
I think it got acquired for 70 billion. Microsoft's
That's
worth
what
way
I
more
meant.
than that.
That's what I meant. That's what I meant. It's wait, who is? Oh no, it's EA. Like these games companies are not afraid to just shut down mobile or just games that aren't making money. Apex Mobile is a fantastic example of that. And so if you have this, predicament of old game, new game that can make way more money, it's probably just gonna, like, I just think that is internally been the game plan all along. Market towards mid and high end gamers, and yes, they might lose some of the low end fan base, but I think that's the price they might be willing. This is all speculation. That might be the price they're willing to pay, because in return, they're going to receive, on average, much more per player that they have, because the players are mid and high end device users. And it's, I think that's been the game plan all along. And it's could be wrong, but I don't know. When you have Fortnite Mobile raking in $500 million a year on one platform, then it's kind of tough to say otherwise.
Yeah, and I think also if you look at what games earn relative to the market that they're catered to, I think you can see, like, even games like Free Fire, even though it has maybe the biggest audience of any mobile game, in 2022, it only did 500 million, which is not that much more than what COD Mobile did. Now, that is taking into account the fact that it got banned. It made $2 billion in 2020, which is a crazy number, but that also tells you how many people were playing Free Fire, because it is just the fact of the matter. People that are playing on low-end devices are naturally going to be people that don't have as much free money to spend on a game. And so part of that is just a business decision to cater to the people that have the most money to spend. And that's just the way that, like, marketing in the world, like, anyone who's a YouTuber knows, like, there are specific countries, as far as your CPM goes, like, if those people from those countries are watching your videos, you're making more money because they're spending more marketing dollars, because those people are the ones that are spending more money. So once again, I do hope to see Warzone Mobile reach it. Wait, what?
PUBG Mobile made $1 billion last. Oh no.
Oh, I believe that.
They only have 2022, but they still made. But it made $2 billion in 2021, $1.1 billion in 2020. It's made $1 billion.
Yeah.
In lifetime revenue. Wait, but this is only 2020. I can't get a new article. I only have up to 2022.
Yeah, most of the articles I've seen only go to 2022.
This is from 2023. PUBG Mobile tops 10 billion, but I don't see.
Oh, and like lifetime revenue?
What? I got a Korean article. Cumulative sales exceed 10 billion. Dude, this is cooked. This is in Korean. I don't know what's going on. These graphs. I mean, so it, again, catering towards the low-end devices can still succeed, but there's also the marketing strategy of, like, just keeping people in the ecosystem. It's like Apple. Apple is the perfect example of this. Well, why not just have an iPhone when you can have an AirPod, and you can have an iMac, and a laptop, and an iPad? Like, you can also think Call of Duty Mobile, or Call of Duty is trying to do that with Warzone Mobile of, man, Helldivers looks pretty sick right now, but I don't know. I need to grind up some guns, and I'm on the go, so I'm going to go play Warzone Mobile on my phone. So just keeping people in the ecosystem might also be valuable enough. So even though they might not be spending money on their phone, they might turn around and get back home and spend money on their PC and console. So they'll have all the revenue and the numbers for that internally. So the revenue numbers might not be super inflated on mobile. I think it will be.
Once again, something you talked about for Fortnite Mobile, that's probably a big reason that Warzone Mobile was developed the way that it was on the IW9 engine, is people, like, a lot of times, even if they're not necessarily going to be grinding out Warzone Mobile, they see a new skin drops and they want to go ahead and grab it. while they're out on the road, you can just open up the game and buy the skin through there. And once again, it
Mobile
just
item
creates
shop.
an easier way for you to buy things in the game that you want to. If like the, I don't know, the battle pass drops and you want to make sure that you can have it maxed out before you get home, you can either start grinding it on the go, or you can just go ahead and buy a bunch of tokens. And so it just creates an easier way. It basically becomes a secondary function of a mobile store for what you would be playing at home as well.
Yeah, it's just a mobile item shop, and that's something Fortnite realized. And I think, like, even if it didn't run perfect on most devices, those people were still probably dropping money. And again, I think like some people I said this. I don't want to be a broken record, but just like missing the bigger picture of like the scheme that's at play here. Of like, this isn't just like a mobile title. Like, this is a mobile title that's been in development for years on one of the world's biggest shooter franchises that has like cross progression, cross account sharing, connectivity. Like, there's a lot bigger here stakes, a lot more stakes at play here than just like the mobile game. And the layers of complexity of like the launch of this game are so deep that like optimization, they'll get around to it, but I think there's so many other, like, I think marketing is probably something they've been putting equally as much time into as the game's optimization over the last few weeks, just because you get enough people interested in it, like you can kind of steamroll through any optimization issues until you get them ironed out. But only time will tell. We have a week, and
Crazy.
I'm sure
Only a week.
we'll do a follow-up episode afterwards, and I will either say I was right or I will eat all of my words and I will apologize and be shunned off of social media forever. No, I'm trolling. Last thing, Bobby, what do you think about with all of the resurgence of Apex Mobile comms? What do you think about Apex Mobile? Do you think things ever coming back?
I think EA will try to make their own version of Apex Mobile, and I think they will realize that it is a lot harder than they think it's going to be, and they'll either go back to Tencent or they'll scrap it. I think those are the options, but either way, I don't see it happening within the next 2 years, so I don't see it being worth a topic of conversation, if I'm being totally honest.
Yeah. I think they might see what Warzone Mobile's doing and go, oh, we should have done that. But by the time it comes out in like 2026, Rainbow Six hopefully will finally come out.
Warzone Mobile, if Rainbow Six is not out in 2025, I've given up hope.
They just, again, it's kind of like the Bloodstrike thing. They just had such a great opportunity. The timing was perfect, and the execution just wasn't there. So if they come out with it again, maybe. But actually, all Genshin players do that with their game. They always save the game tokens like that. Oh, I know. Yeah, cross-platform games.
Yep.
Yeah. They just save it on their PC, use it on their phone, on the go. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that wraps it up. That was honestly one of the longer episodes of the podcast, but obviously we had a lot of things to cover, and hopefully we will continue to have more things to cover. Obviously, we're going to be both very busy next week with the launch of Warzone Mobile, so more than likely no episode then, but hopefully once we've had a little bit more time to kind of gather our thoughts, see the way things are starting to pan out for the game, hopefully we'll be back with you guys to kind of give our thoughts and hopefully some updates on the other games that we've been waiting on. Once again, the reason we started this podcast was because it seemed like mobile gaming was starting to head into a space where it was really on an upward trend. It was really good things, and then that perceived upward trend was Apex Mobile and what we thought was going to be a soon Warzone Mobile launch. Well, now it's actually soon, so hopefully other games will continue to follow suit. But that's going to be it for the episode. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to subscribe. Make sure to drop a like as well. Follow us on socials. They are linked down below.